actually know what's going on here.
I literally have no idea. Help.
We're 20 whatever. Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
And welcome back to 20 Whatever. We are excited to be here, excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, excited for this episode. I think this is going to bring back some nostalgia vibes for some. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be like a throwback, a little bit of a throwback episode.
I definitely had to think back to my first job for sure. I was like, hold on. There's been a minute.
Yeah. So if you couldn't tell from the title, we are going to be talking about first jobs, work horror stories, all of those types of things. And we got a lot of those stories from you guys. You sent them in the group chat. So thank you so much.
I love having the group chat.
Me too. It's like our own little private island.
Yeah.
With all of our friends, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, we'll just catch us in the group chat.
Yeah, we'll see you in the group chat, you know? Love it.
Which I guess as a little preamble, what was your guys' first job?
Ever?
Like, I'm talking lemonade stand, I'm talking picking up dog poop. Like, what was the first time that you were like, I would like to make some money?
I was considering when I got my W-2, but it's actually, I've made the money before then. She's right.
Yeah.
The job before the job.
The job before the job, the pre-job. My first one, honestly, I was always like, I want to play cash register. I want to play cashier because I just wanted to count the money and touch the money. So I was trying to get money from a very young age. And I would fake take pictures of people in my family and they would give me $1.
Wow.
It wasn't even real pictures.
Cute.
I'd be like, click, that's $1.
So you were scamming people.
I was a hustler back in the day.
She was a hustler.
You know what's funny though? I was thinking about that too. I feel like from a young age, I always liked money. I always wanted spending money. And I don't necessarily think that's something my parents put on me because my brothers, both of them were not like that. But I think from a young age, I was like, I want to buy stuff and I want to be able to buy stuff for people around me. Like, I loved being able to be like, oh, let's go to the ice cream truck. Like,
it's on me, guys. Yeah.
I always liked that.
She's like, another round.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Bring out those SpongeBob popsicles.
Yes.
Take another round, barkeep.
Yeah. Like you said, you were like, I just like the touch of money. I'm like,
I just wanted to touch it. I wanted to count it.
That's
so
funny.
Because I've always seen the movies, they're licking their fingers, which is so gross. But
it is gross.
I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, count that money, rubber band banks. I was really into it all.
At a young age, young Riayn and Sierra were just,
Yeah.
Couldn't save it to save my life.
Did you do try all of the things of pet sitting, house sitting, lemonade stand? Yeah, all the things you can do as a kid.
Absolutely.
Yep. The same way.
Yeah, did all that because I just needed the money.
Yeah. Didn't even know what I wanted to do with it.
Spend it.
Yes, exactly.
Because I wasn't saving it. That was so not my tea. I'd get $5 and I'd be like, Mom, you need to take me to Walmart right now. Immediately. Walmart. And I buy whatever, gum, some toy, I don't even know. Couldn't save. Still struggled with the saving. I can't lie. But she can spend real good. So that's good.
That's so
P,
funny.
were you like that?
I don't think young. I wasn't like, I need to do a lemonade stand to get some money. I think that I didn't hit that till about 15 when I was like, I want my own money because I was too young to get a job legally, because you have to wait 16, right?
Yeah.
Here in California, you have to be 16 years old. So I knew I had to wait till 16 to legally do it. And so I was like, nope. It's coming. And so then when I was 15 and a half, I started interviewing and things like that. And sure as heck, they didn't care that I was not 16. And they were like, sure, you're bilingual. That's fantastic. So that's how I got my
child labor laws. We don't know her.
Yeah. But the problem is now in retrospect, unpackaging, I'm like, I think that there were more than one labor law that was broken.
Yeah.
Like Sierra said, it wasn't my parents being like, you should go get a job. I just wanted to have my own money just to buy whatever I wanted. Preparing for this podcast, for this episode, I was thinking back and I was recounting and realizing all the oopsies. And I realized that I was always working on my breaks because I was the only one on the team that actually spoke Spanish and we had walkies on. So I would be on lunch, in the food court or something like that, and they would walkie me to come back so I could communicate with people there. And that was something that was on a regular basis. I was always used for translating. So it was great for me, but not great for me when I was on break.
Right.
Well, and also I'm assuming that they probably were not paying you what they should have to be the only bilingual person who can communicate with their customers.
No, Sierra. And the worst part is because I ended up chatting with one of the guys that was like on my team, and he was like, oh yeah, I make like $7.50. And I was like, I make $7. How do you make 50 cents more than me? And I had worked longer than him.
And worked more, I'm sure.
More than him.
Right.
And I couldn't believe that this guy was making more money than me. Point is, there was some unpaid work. And then I also remembered that my boss would tell me, since you're under the age of 18 and we can't have you work certain hours, you need to don't clock in the system, write it down, and I'll clock it for you. And I will move stuff around. And now as a grown adult, I'm realizing how bad all of this was.
Yeah. But that's exactly what they're counting on.
Yes.
Is that as a young girl, you
kids
will not
just do it.
Yeah, you'll be like, well, okay, this is my boss and this is what they're
the
telling
work.
me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I trusted my main boss, and I was just like, okay, for sure, I don't want to get us in trouble. Well, well, the trouble was you were playing me.
Right.
Yeah, playing me.
Yeah.
And also like legally very illegal, lying on me, I'm lying, like we're all lying.
In retrospect, I was like, and I followed the rules. So like finding out that I was like hired probably not as legally, like I was 15 and a half and she just said I was 16 or something. And then not being able, the 18-year-old thing.
And you're just trying to like work.
Yeah.
What do you know?
And I just thought, like when you're young, you just kind of be like, oh, well, they're not trying to like do anything
I'm just
bad, illegal.
Yeah.
Like we're here at Aeropostale. Like this is a
It
feels legit, like no one here scamming me.
Right. And like, what do we really as kids like know about work, right? So all that stuff where they're like, oh, it's like this. You're like, oh yeah, like this is just how like work goes. Like, yeah, no, I won't. I'll just send it to you and like you'll handle it because you know like what the tea is.
Right. And they would paint it like, well, you want to work, of course. Like you don't want Paloma. It's a Thanksgiving Day, like you working through it. Like you don't want to leave on Black Friday. We need you, and you're the only Spanish speaker. So to do that, we need to just break it up. You're still going to get paid the hours. It's just, and I'm like, yeah, but then I could have gotten overtime, holiday pay, and like all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was not even that you could have been, that you were entitled to.
Right. But also that you actually probably wouldn't have gone because you shouldn't have been hired to work there anyway. And that's honestly why they were like jumping through all this shit.
And that's probably why she was like, oh, well, she's already not supposed to be here. So like, just throw her in the back. Don't.
It's giving like pay under the table vibes.
Yeah.
It's kind of what that. And honestly, they would have had more luck with that. To be honest.
They really should have.
Forget the paperwork. Just pay me some cash. Some rubber band banks.
The hustler. So that was my first little, I learned how to fold T-shirts there, and they are so cut to the crisp in my house because I learned
how to. Still.
I do. I pride myself in how I fold laundry.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I've seen it.
Thank you very much.
It's that Aeropostale.
Yes,
it is. It's that little touch. Now that you've been folding your clothes like that for 10 years plus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You are so dang right. No, that's plus.
Yeah, 12.
It's over 10.
12 years?
All right. Well, all right.
Well, before we really, really dive into the topic at hand, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor.
Today's episode of 20 Whatever is brought to you by Harper Wilde.
Harper Wilde is one of my favorite brands. They make some of the most comfortable and functional bras I've ever tried. If you're in need of a bra and underwear refresh, Harper Wilde is the place to go. They're an amazing female-founded company with comfortable, high-quality bras and underwear that are made to last.
Harper Wilde is all about pairing comfort and style hand in hand, and their new Cloud Cotton collection does that perfectly.
It's a brand new collection that just launched, made from their cotton modal blend with Cloud 9 level softness, featuring full coverage underwear, all-day comfort with no slippage, and bralettes in trial and scoop cuts.
I'm wearing the Cloud Cotton Scoop Bralette in Dune with the matching Cloud Cotton bikini, both in a 2XL. They come in sizes extra small to 4XL. The quality is great. The material is so soft, so comfy. I love the fit of this bra. The fuller coverage cups and thick supportive straps and the hooks in the back give amazing wire-free support. And I couldn't possibly do a Harper Wilde sponsor without taking a second to rave about the Bliss Bralette, my holy grail bra, a 10 out of 10. Comfortable, it's supportive, it is perfect for all-day wear.
On top, I'm wearing the Cloud Cotton Scoop Bralette in the color Dune in a size medium. This seriously feels like a t-shirt specifically for my boobs. I'm wearing the Cloud Cotton High Waist Boy Short in black in a size large. stretch. These are the perfect lounge shorts that aren't overly loose, but just tight enough to keep that comfy feel. Next, I'm wearing the same cloud cotton scoop bralette in a size medium, but in black. What's better than your favorite piece of clothing? Your favorite piece of clothing in black. Last, but always a first for me, is their #1 bestseller, the Bliss bralette. I'm wearing this one in a size medium and in the color Succulent. I have started collecting these and I cannot get enough.
On top, I'm wearing the cloud cotton scoop bralette with the matching cotton bikini bottom in indigo. Both of these pieces are so soft and cloud-like. I love the material. My favorite part is the adjustable back that you can't even feel is there. The bralette is a large and I got the bottom in a size medium. I'm also wearing the cotton triangle bralette in black with the matching cloud cotton high-waisted boy short. On top, the bralette is a size large and the boy shorts in a medium. Amazing quality on both pieces. My favorite part is how comfy and confident I feel in both of these. I have heard the girls rave about the Bliss bralette, and let me tell you, it meets the hype. I'm wearing the Bliss bralette in earth in a size large, and it is one of the softest materials I have ever tried on. It is so soft, I may never take it off.
Harper Wilde also created the first bra recycle program. Every order comes with a bag that you can send out with your old bras and underwear, and they'll recycle it for you.
In addition to their amazing products, we love that Harper Wilde lifts up ladies in every way. They donate 1% of their proceeds to Girls Inc., which provides mentorship and educational programming for girls 6 through 18.
Harper Wilde, thank you for supporting us and giving us the most amazing bras and undies from the new Cloud Cotton collection. Check out Harper Wilde from the link in our description and use our code 20whatever for 15% off your order.
Thank you, Harper Wilde. Now back to the episode.
I honestly cannot believe that 10 plus years. Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun or panicking, whatever.
Yeah. Or sleeping in the back room on Black Friday.
Or that.
As you've told us before.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've mentioned on the pod before, like they had me doing some crazy things. They were like, oh, just sleep in the back and then clock off and then clock back in.
So were you just like, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. Or did you have a moment of like, that's maybe not?
I think that's it shows why there are child labor laws and why these are real. But because I can recall being a child and not ever thinking like this is wrong, because I had managers, I had people, adults. Like I was super young and they were like telling me, and I didn't think that they would guide me in a wrong way. So if they were like, Paloma, like you are, and they, I don't think they were bad people. I think that they were just really trying to keep.
And they needed you. They praised you for the things that you were able to do.
Absolutely.
They're like, Paloma, you can do these things like no one else can do. We really need you.
Right.
And like what? Me at 15, like, period.
And
I am
needed.
so important.
Yeah. But like even how they'd phrase it and they'd tell you where they're like, oh, we only have a certain amount of hours for this week. So if we could just roll those over to the next paycheck, because if not, that messes me up because I'm only allowed to pass this much out. But it's like, we have someone coming.
Also, that's not my problem.
It's not my problem. But I, as a team player, was like, oh my God, you're so right. The VP is coming to check us and I'm doing this and I have to make sure the mannequins are that and I will take a nap in the back and then I'll wake up and get ready. But you were paying me $7.
Yeah, right.
Like I was really overworked and underpaid, but and that's just what happens when you just, I think, are a young one working in there and you just get a little taken advantage of.
So you were 15. 15. What was your first, like, not us as kids, trying to hustle and make a buck, like, job?
From what I can remember, and I honestly could be wrong because memories, but I'm pretty sure it was when I worked at Menchie's, which is like a frozen yogurt like chain. And that was like the summer I graduated high school.
Okay.
So like I had like summer camp jobs, and I taught dance and stuff like that, but all of that was like under the table and like not really like real. I didn't have like set hours. I wasn't clocking in and like doing all this stuff, but like clocking in and having a W-2 and like all of that was when I worked at Menchie's, and it was just frozen yogurt and it was chill. Nobody really did anything. I had samples for days because especially if it was raining, nobody would come in.
Right.
So I'd just be standing there. I'm like looking around. I'm like, well, it's giving a sample right now.
Yeah, Reese's peanut butter cups and like all the toppings.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was so easy and so fun. And at one point I had a manager that was like, we became like really good friends. And I remember I was like, oh, I want to go to New York for 2 weeks. I'm also like 21. Like, I'm going to go to New York for 2 weeks. And she was like, okay, well, that's a long time. You're going to get someone to cover your shift. I was like, honestly, barely anybody works here. So there's not really anybody to cover the shift. Can you cover it? And she was like, okay. Yeah. And my parents thought that I had like quit my job. Like they didn't believe that I was actually able to like get 2 weeks off. They were like, did you quit your job? And I'm like, no. They're like, you're lying. I'm like, I'm not. My boss is just cool as hell. Like, sorry. Yeah. It was really, honestly super easy. Great job though. Loved it.
That is so
lit.
cool that she was so chill with you.
Oh, she was so chill.
I cannot say the same for my arrow. They would also guilt me into taking a day off, like because I worked independent learning program, so like I could work the 9 a.m. shift when we so I would work Monday through Friday and open and stuff like that. But then when I wanted, I still remember so vividly, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were playing at the Super Bowl, and I never, ever asked for a day off. And I remember the night before I had to do a whole set. Like I worked the night before from closing and redid the entire room. And then I told my boss, like, I'm not coming in tomorrow. Like I told you not to schedule me. You ended up scheduling me, but I told you I have a party and you know that I'm here every other day. But this day,
Right.
and she guilted me and was like, "You're not a team player." It was giving Abby Lee Miller kind of vibe.
No.
Like I swear. So she really.
What's that sound? You're staying here until the dance is done,
and you're replaceable.
Yes.
I was told like I was
God.
replaced, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I still remember the amount of. I wish I would have just like, and that is such a. I was 15. I didn't need the money. I should have just been like,
Fuck it.
forget you, and I'm not coming in.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had that in me. But I was like, oh my God, if I quit my job, they're going to tell the rest of my bosses for the rest of my life, right? Like,
Right,
that's how
on
that
the
works.
permanent record
And that's-
vibes.
That's how that works,
the
right?
permanent record is a scam.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Let's talk about it.
Because that was like the ultimate manipulation tool in school,
Yep.
Permanent
in
record.
any extracurricular job.
Yep.
Your permanent
Your permanent record. And everyone's going to know that you failed science. What?
What's the permanent record?
What is it? What's on there?
Where is it?
If I ditched class, is it on there?
Paloma drank alcohol at 17. That's on my record.
Would not work on the Super Bowl in 2010.
Yeah.
What? Like, where did that? Was it a thing? Like, was a permanent record like actually a thing, and like then it just like became irrelevant? Or is a permanent record
They mean
for like
illegally.
criminals?
Like, yeah. I think that's what they were referencing.
I think it mostly has to do with the fact that you wanted a good reference when you left, and you wanted all of those extra hours you worked and all those things to like mean something.
Right.
And they could threaten to not give you a good one. They could threaten to not be a reference to A, B, and C, which is like in a lot of states illegal. That if someone calls, they're just verifying your employment. They can't actually be like, they were the worst.
Right.
Because it's illegal for them to say so.
Really?
I didn't know that.
At least in California.
I didn't know that either.
Me like so scared. I'm like, I don't want to put like so and so because like they're gonna say I was terrible. Blah blah blah.
Well,
But,
that's
like,
why I was your reference for so long.
that's true.
We'll get into that. I want to hear Sarah's.
That's
we
true.
should chat.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah. What was your first job?
My first job, it was not like a W-2, but I actually made really good money, and this is how I paid for my first car. I got my soccer referee certification when I was 14.
A referee.
Yes,
They
and
make
I
big
would
bucks.
ref the club games. So
Oh,
not
fun, yeah.
not rec, but the club games for the younger kids. Now, this was honestly like a dream come true for me because it was an absolute power trip, and I made great money for like not a ton of work. It was amazing. If you are a teenager and you are looking for a weekend job, get your referee certification. So the
Period.
game is like an hour, right? You come 20 minutes before, you stay maybe 10 minutes after. So it's like an hour and a half of work. And I'd get, if I was the sideline ref with the flag, I'd get like $30 for the game, which for an hour,
Yeah.
amazing.
Right.
And then for the younger games, they just have one ref in the center, and I would get to keep all the money. It's the same amount,
Right.
whether it's split between. So I could go to a soccer tournament, ref like 6 straight games, and walk away with like a couple $100.
Wow.
So my first car was, I think,
Period.
$3,000. And so I was able to, over a couple years, working on the weekends at these soccer tournaments, save up money. And the power that I experienced in this
And
job.
you were the ref.
And as a teenager with authority issues,
God.
being told that you are God to these two teams, and it wasn't the kids, right? The kids were super sweet. But there would always be a coach or a parent or a
Yep.
grown man on the sideline acting a type of way. And, you know, I think in this ref certification course, they really hammered home, like, you have the authority to eject people if you feel unsafe, da-da-da-da. Especially because it's a lot of younger kids, you know, maybe they don't feel empowered to do that. Oh, I felt empowered. The way that I would kick full-grown men off of the field,
No.
That is so funny.
it was so fun. At 14 years old, I remember, you know, this parent's giving me a hard time. I'm sure thinking, I'm not going to do anything. I come up on the sideline. I stand next to him. I'm like, look, buddy. Me at 14, look, buddy.
Stop.
Sierra the ref.
I'm like,
I
if you
can't.
say one more thing, I will eject you. And you will leave. And he's like, you can't do that. I'm like, out. gone, leave. So fun.
Oh my God.
They gave young Sierra so much
was
power.
I know. Too much.
Too much.
She's like,
She
I
was
just want to
power
eject.
tripping.
Yeah. She's like egging the guys to eject.
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
She's like, listen here, buddy. If you don't simmer down.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like I did, because of that, command a lot of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so it ended up being a pretty easy job. And it was fun. And as I played competitive soccer, so most of my weekends I was hanging at the field anyways.
Right. And you like knew the rules and stuff. You were like, I know what's going on here.
Yes.
Did you ref a fair, like, were you a fair ref?
I do believe I was a fair ref. Yes.
Good.
I do believe it.
There's some corrupt refs.
Right. I know. Was there any parents being like,
I
look,
know.
I got a lot of money on
I'm
this one?
like, were you betting on the games?
No, but they would try to intimidate me. And I
Really?
think starting off the game too. And that's where I pretty quickly would be like, this, no.
Get him off my field. My field.
I think they looked at me and thought they could intimidate me. And
Right.
then pretty clearly I was like, you two can play this game.
Also, what's crazy is they're trying to intimidate you on a game where there's like 6-year-olds playing
7-year-olds,
soccer.
Yeah. No, crazy.
Oh, they take that shit serious.
I know.
My brother was an intense soccer player too, and so I spent my weekends at the field. And which, by the way, my mom tried to get me into that ref thing because she was like, "Look at the ref, look at the refs," and we ended up finding out that brothers made a lot of money, and so there was a part. But I was like, to spend more time at this soccer field, I went off myself.
It was fun too because 3 of my friends on my team, we did the certification course together. It was like over the course of a weekend, and then we would sign up for the same tournaments. So sometimes we'd be on the same games. But even if we weren't, if we had, 30 minutes between games, we'd all go get food together. There'd always be booths and food trucks, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Did you say you did club?
Yes.
So what's the difference between club and rec?
So rec is anyone can sign up and you get assigned a team and you play for a season.
Okay.
And club is
It's
you
like try out. Right? Okay.
They, to put it in theater terms, you audition. They cast a team.
Yeah.
Everyone has their roles, right? There are maybe some understudies.
Right.
And
bench
then
players.
Bench players.
Those are called swings, Ryan.
Swings.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you travel around and play teams from other cities. So like our city had 2 club teams. So like, yeah, we'd play each other, but mostly we'd like go all over, San Diego and play.
Right.
And it was really fun. I really
Did you ever
enjoyed it.
travel for it or just travel for when you were playing?
Just traveled locally. Like we never flew anywhere. We weren't like a high level competitive team. We were like pretty mid tier. There was like 6 tiers. I think we were like
But
3rd.
still traveling from like field to field is something. Like I knew that like was a thing when you're not on your like in your space. Like you're going
home
somewhere.
or away games.
Yeah.
And we occasionally had tournaments that were far enough away that we had to stay in a hotel, and that was like the time of our lives.
I was gonna say that shit.
We would play. I remember playing like tag in an Embassy Suites with the glass elevators, and seeing the girls going up in the glass elevator, being like, "I'm gonna get you." It was so fun.
Yes.
But yeah, so refereeing was my first job where I made substantial money. And then overlapping with that, I started working at the theater that I did shows with.
Oh yes, yes.
So I was just around all the time because that's what I liked to be at the theater. And then like P, I did independent study. So the director would send out a text of like, hey, we're going to organize the costume shop this Tuesday, 10 a.m. Who's going to go? No one. Everyone's in school, but I'm going to go.
Right.
And so I pretty quickly positioned myself as like the do anything girl. I'll be anywhere. I'll do anything. Whatever you want me to do, I'm game. Which now looking back, I do think I was taken advantage of.
When you become that girl, they know you'll do anything, girl.
Yeah. But at the same time, I really did love that job. It started with just like volunteering, going and helping because I wanted to be there. And then I was helping with the costumes so much. They were like, well, why don't you become the costume assistant? So I like organized the costume room. I would help with fittings. And then from there, I started doing stage management for the youth shows. And then that all kind of culminated with me becoming the assistant producer of their youth branch, which was really cool and special. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, I was never allowed time off. Like if I was like, hey, 3 weeks in advance, I would like to go to Disneyland this day or go to a birthday party. It was like, not even like you're working that day. I was like, well, I need you to be available in case I need you to work.
That's tough.
I look back on that job with a lot of fondness, but there is some stuff where I'm like, I was really taken advantage of. But it was fun.
Yeah. I feel like with theater specifically, and because this is just like kind of where I know things, and dance stuff, it's hard because a lot of that stuff is really emotional and really like family vibes, and that's where they're like, we're a family, you know, we take care of each other, we help each other out, we do this thing, and it's like, no, for sure, except I still need a day off.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I totally am here for you, but you're using this like we're a family to like coerce me into like working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you felt like this too with teaching dance and working in the theater.
Oh yeah.
It is like, I felt like if I don't perform well in my job, I won't be cast well in the next show.
Yep.
So there was that overlap of if I do everything perfectly in my job, that will earn me favor with the director and get me a better position in the show.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of like blurred lines, but also through that, I got to be a youth counselor for their summer drama camps, which was so fun. So
honestly
fun.
Sounds like a dream. I
was
honestly
gonna say,
want to do
sounds-
that right now.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
You know, like I could see myself in about 10 years just being a theater counselor.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. There was times when I was teaching like younger like dance classes, but also at the studio that I was taking classes at. So they would kind of be like, "Oh, well, you need to be like dancing all day anyway, so you might as well." And I'm like, "Right, but like me training and me teaching is like not the same."
Yeah.
But I was like, well, if I don't, then they're going to think that I'm like not training.
Committed.
Yeah, not like in the studio doing the thing and like trying to like get better and all this stuff. And I was like, for sure. But also like, I also want to do like regular stuff and not be teaching 5-year-olds ballet. Like this sucks.
Yeah. Like that's not training for you.
No. I'm like, do your first position. I'm like, this isn't helping me at all. Like, I already know what we're doing here.
Did you feel at all this like, well, everyone else here would love to work here, so you're lucky to be here? Because I felt like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many of the other theater people would be there just hanging out and volunteering their time. It was like, well, I'm actually getting paid.
And it was a little
so
power
I'm
trippy,
lucky.
too.
Yeah.
It was a little power trippy, too. I was like, well, I'm like a teacher. So I'm gonna take my class.
So you better point your toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like that. And I did, and I think the staff, like the adult staff, was like really cool with me, which also, you know, when you're a teenager or like young, like that like means so much for people of authority to be like, hey girl, like blah, blah, blah,
like you're
vibes.
part of that now.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that was like really the driving force of it all. And like at sometimes I really did like it. Like I loved being at the studio. I loved dance and I loved doing all of that. And so it was fun. Like you said, like I had a lot of fondness, but like there was just shit that I did that I didn't need to be doing.
Did you feel like kind of with P's job where there was definitely some illegal stuff going on, that there was any like shadiness or illegal, like as an underage person you were?
Yeah. I mean, I was paid under the table. So because there was no like contracts or anything, like there was no rules. Like it was just vibes. And it worked out because I honestly, sometimes I already had to be there. I already had to be there for a rehearsal or a class or something else. Like, so it just kind of was like, oh, well, you're here. You have dance. You have what? You have hip hop in an hour. Like, just maybe can you stay and like do this thing? And I'm like, for sure. Otherwise, I would have left and like maybe gone to get something to eat or like just taken a break or like anything. But they're like, oh, you have class in an hour. Like just.
But that's the magic word. Can you just?
Just?
And with work, I don't just do something.
I do it.
Doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I'm not being paid, it's like I'm not just.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I wouldn't choose to do this with my free time.
Right.
Let's pull a group chat submission.
Oh, yes,
should we?
yes.
Okay, so this story, she says in the message that it is ongoing. So she put her name, but she didn't specify if she wanted to be anonymous, which when you guys are texting the group chat, which we'll put the number up here, let us know. If you include your name, we can read it. If you want it to be anonymous, that's fine too. For this situation, we'll call her Katie. Katie, you know who you are. Okay. So Katie says, I'm currently in my first job, so these stories are recent and ongoing. I work in an industry that statistically is female dominated, but my experience has been far from inclusive. My peers are made of almost entirely less experienced women in their 20s. Management is exclusively middle-aged men. Ooh, that's a bad combo.
Yep.
This dynamic has been toxic to say the least. Fair.
Right.
Our bosses frequently discuss the length of women's skirts,
Ew.
demean us for being young and naive, and constantly make inappropriate comments, quote, because they aren't PC around here. End quote. There's an incredibly high turnover rate. Yeah.
Right. I wonder why.
And yet they perpetually blame the ex-employee for any issues. The biggest red flag of all, there's no HR. I wish I had known just how much they lied to me in my interview, but the sad reality of the job market is that young, less experienced women like me don't always have opportunities to leave toxic work environments. Looking forward to finding a new role that enables me to succeed and embraces everything about me, including that I am a young woman.
Right.
In the meantime, I choose to find the positives, laugh it off when I can, and build character and thick skin on the daily. Dude, Katie, that is some real shit.
Real shit, dude.
And that's bad.
Dude, as soon as she was like, and our higher ups are mostly middle-aged men, I said, wrap it up. We gotta go.
Yeah.
We gotta go.
And I love what she said about, I hope I can find a place that values me because I am a young woman.
Yeah.
Because that is a perspective and an experience that so many like older companies need.
Yeah.
That's not a negative.
Mhm.
That's not something to be talked down to and demeaned about. That's like, okay, you're young, you're fresh, you have this perspective that we may not have. And that's also why leadership needs to be reflective of the people who are working.
Yes. I don't understand, like, I understand like trying to like keep it in the circle or whatever, I guess. But like if I had a business that I wanted to grow with everyone, all the generations, I don't know how I would even sit there and leave my lips like we old heads know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how that works at all. If I'm trying to build a business and grow and make money or whatever the case is, I'm like, let's hire this fresh out of college, like super, super excited, whatever. I want to hear what they have to say because they're living that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I don't get that at all. I'm like, don't you want to succeed? I don't.
Yeah, they shouldn't be looking at that they're young females.
And I'm like living the life that you are trying to sell to.
Yeah.
Hello. You were trying to sell to me, so maybe listen to what I have to say.
Well, and Katie even said it's a typically female-dominated industry. How can, as a man, you work in a leadership position in a female-dominated industry
Mm-hmm.
and come at your team with that kind of misogyny?
Mhm.
Talking about skirt lengths and
Right.
not being PC. Like,
Right.
I said red flag.
yeah.
Truly, I mean, and
That means I just don't care.
and she also said the turnaround
Mm.
was like
Yeah.
fast, which
Yeah.
means like no one ever even stays there.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that? Why are you just shuffling through employees?
Because they don't care.
No,
They
yeah, obviously
they
not.
feel what it is they feel invincible.
Right,
They feel like that can't come back to them.
right.
Yeah. And they think that the other people are the problem, which is why she referencing the ex people that work there are
Yeah.
the problem. So
Yeah.
they just think that way. It's the people that keep coming in and we just don't find the right person that's
Yeah.
just like me, I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, that kind of sounds like we had a boss back in the day, not even that long ago, truly, like 2 years ago. And before Paloma started working there, I was working there alone, and she would say a lot of things that were just truly cracked. But a lot was like, oh, we just need to move this person over here because they just don't know what they're doing. Or like, oh, like we just need to like change the whole system because it's not working. And it's like, you are literally the problem.
Yeah.
And it was like a smaller business and it was woman owned. So it was like, it should have been a really cool experience. It really should have been, but it was terrible.
Mhm.
I'm
Traumatic. When I haven't said this on the internet. When I met her, she was like the head boss. I met her and it was during 2020. So it was like very peak COVID. And so she was like in town and I was like, we can meet in this parking lot and just like, you can stand at your car and I can stand at my car and we can just like meet.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, because it was a virtual job, like it was work from home, like we would never have met ever at any point.
She just so happened to be in San Diego.
She just so happened to be in San Diego. And so I was like, let's meet up. We can chat in person, get to know each other, whatever. And I'd already been hired. So it was like, whatever. We were talking, we're chatting. She's like, oh, do you want to like go over to this like McDonald's and get like an ice cream and just like whatever? And I was like, yeah, vibes, whatever. We walk to the McDonald's and we're like sitting on the bench. It was like blocked off. Like there was like caution tape, but there was like no one there. So we just kind of sat there. We didn't sit next to each other. We just kind of like sat at the tables. And then an employee came out and was like, hey, you guys like can't sit here or whatever. And I was like, oh, like, sorry, like we'll leave or whatever. Red flag, red flag, red flag. She was like, well, we're just sitting here. Like we're not doing anything. And I was like, and I was just like sitting there and they were like, no, right. Like hear that, but you can't. And this was like COVID as fuck. Like it was like June.
Yeah.
2020. Like it was like for real. And the employee was like, you just can't. And she was like, well, we're not even doing anything. Like we're just, and it just kind of started to get a little like, her tone just started getting a little heightened and a little nasty. And I was like, oh God, like not this Karen right now.
Yeah.
And then this is just the icing on the cake. It was so tragic. The employee was like, if you don't leave, like we're gonna have to call somebody. And they were like, we're gonna have to like call the cops or whatever. And I was like, nope. And like I said, let me reiterate, it was summer 2020. We all know what was going down. And I'll leave it at that. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm freaking out. Now I'm like, feel so unsafe. I'm not like, this is not it. And she was like, well, what are you going to do? You can call the cops. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. Right. I was like, no, we're going to go. So sorry. Also, so unnecessary. Whatever.
What a crazy hill to die on.
At McDonald's for some McDonald's ice cream, bro. You were gonna put my life at stake?
Yeah.
Over some ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yo.
No, it was really like, it was her asking, well, call the cops. I said,
and you know what?
Ma'am.
That was like for real. Like I was like, oh, you're a real life Karen.
Yeah.
Like that was like me in real time, like, oh, you aren't scared of what the potentials could be because that doesn't affect you at all.
Right.
You said bring the cops. I said I have to go.
Right. And she didn't even think about how that could affect you.
Yeah.
Nope. Not even in the slightest. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. But then when I was like, no, sorry, everyone call the dogs off. Like, no. I got up and she was like, like follow my lead or whatever. And then we went back over to like the other parking lot and just stood there. And I was like, this is the most cracked situation I've ever been in. You
having to apologize for it, like to the late, like, I'm so sorry. Please ignore my boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
So insane. And that was me meeting her. I hadn't even started the job yet. And honestly, I should have known that it was going to be literally hell for a year. I think I was with her for a year and a half. And I was like, this is delusion. Cracked.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
We've talked about her hiatus. Remember we talked about that one time? She just
ran
like
away
left.
to Bali
and she was like,
or something?
don't call me. Nobody call me. No one say anything. And we're like, your business is falling apart. Like everyone's quitting.
And
like
Sierra, she promised me that when she got back from her trip, she was going to promote me and pay me all this stuff because I had stuck around and I didn't get fired. And I don't know what she promised me. And she came back and fired everyone.
Yeah, we were really trying to like make it work. Like, and there's obviously so much that we're just like not going to talk about because like we just can't. We don't have the time.
Yeah.
But crazy things and like the systems changing like every day. She would make us go on Zoom and work on Zoom for hours,
so she could watch us work. Because she didn't believe that
we were working.
So that's delusional.
There was like 7 of us on a Zoom.
On Zoom.
And guess what I didn't do? Work. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm texting.
Oh my God.
I have to pee.
The craziest thing, like, and she would just be like, cameras on. I want to see. Like, I'd be like,
well, shouldn't she be doing work instead of trying to watch you guys do work? I mean,
Sierra said it. I mean, no, absolutely. Like, our boss should have been working rather than telling us what to do.
It was really crazy. And then she fired everybody, like out of nowhere. Like it was the craziest work.
And I think now she lives in South Africa.
Yep. So
well,
good for her, I guess.
No, I know. It's just like life is so interesting and how it changes and work. And it's interesting how that was like our job. Like we had to report to this woman every single day.
And what was crazy is that we knew that like she was delusional, which was crazy. We were like, you're yelling at us for like crazy things. But like in real life, everyone's looking at you like you are crazy.
Right.
And you're like, you guys, blah, 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 blah. And all of the employees are like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like,
oh my gosh.
Such a hot mess.
Such a hot mess. Crazy things.
But it just,
anyway.
I think that all of this just kind of shows you where it's like, you're put in situations where like even this girl was saying it's like you can't do anything. You're like, I have to pay bills, I have to make money, and I have to kind of tolerate it. And it's like even when you see the red flags, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this red flag, but do you know what's worse is I can't pay my rent.
Can I afford to like quit this job? Can I afford to like make a fuss about this? And we said that like people don't often have the ability to just be like, well, my boss is treating me bad, so I gotta go.
So I quit. You're like, oh, girl.
You gotta deal with some stuff, which sucks. And that's why it's like really important for things like HR or things like inclusive hiring and stuff like that, because it's easy to get bulldozed over.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's so easy and it happens every day, everywhere.
Well, and then you give an inch and they take a mile.
Right.
You show up one time and then all of a sudden, you're the one that they're going to call when.
But Sierra, you always say
things-
yes.
Exactly.
You're a you can do it girl.
Right.
And like, and
Yep,
they honestly
no
like
one can do it like you do.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really frame it in a way. It's like, but I know I can trust you. Like,
Yep.
and they even like, it's
It's
so
like
manipulative.
so manipulative.
It's so
Yes.
manipulative. And when you're young, it just, I mean,
like, that's all you ever really want when you're young too, is for somebody to like value
Yeah,
the things
and
that you
be
do.
important.
Yeah, and be
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
So was that your most recent job before? Well, because you were still working with me during that when it was kind of like the crossover.
Yes. And then I got another job.
Okay, you got another
I
one
got
after
another
that.
job that was insane. It was great. It was great. It was for an alcohol brand, which I simply loved. But it was a startup. There was a lot of money in the startup, but it was a startup. So I was doing like so many things I shouldn't have been doing. And I was so stressed out. And that's when I was able to like leave that job and like do like social media and do Schultzzie stuff like full time. I was like blessed because I'm drowning.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I would
yeah.
the panic attacks.
Yeah, this poor girl
Daily.
during that job, like we would be in rehearsal for High School Musical, and she'd be like, "My boss is calling. It's a Saturday at 10 o'clock."
Yeah.
And she's like, "My boss is calling me." I'm like, "Don't answer the phone. We are literally in. It's a Saturday, and we're in the
You're
middle of
off
rehearsal.
the clock.
You're off the clock." And
Yeah.
but if not, it's like, why didn't you pick up the phone?
Yeah.
And it's
and like startup vibes, it's just
Mhm.
like
Startup vibes.
It's you like you assess the situation. You're like, okay, there's probably only 5 of us here. There's so many jobs that need to be done. We have investors like throwing money at us. Like we have to get this stuff done. And like while I acknowledge that, I don't think I really knew that was going to be required of me. And I was so overwhelmed. And like I was like, I am not like, this is not okay. Like I can't do it. I simply can't do it.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Like,
But they
all
were
right,
really
right.
nice and I liked them a lot. And I liked to drink
product
I liked
and-
drinking
yeah.
their alcohol and it was good.
yeah.
And so it sucked. So I was really sad leaving them as like people. And like I really believed in the brand, but like I was like, I can't do this job. I can't do it. Like I'm going to do a bad job because I'm like so stressed.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bad job. I really was.
It's those jobs that like hurt to leave, Like there
Yeah.
are those certain jobs where you're like, I don't hate this job. It's like leaving the people and leaving you.
Yeah.
It feels like an end of an era where you're like,
yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I felt when I decided to stop teaching voice lessons. Because
Mm.
after I left that job at the theater to go to college, and then while I was in college, I got a job as a party princess and I got a job teaching voice lessons.
I have to hear about these party princesses.
That's
I
so
know,
cute.
I know you have
Princess
stories.
parties are crazy.
Dude,
Kids are
there
crazy.
is no drama like being a birthday party princess. Let me tell you that.
And that's
But
tea.
that
That's
job
tea.
was not hard to leave. But the voice lessons really was. I got to the point where YouTube had really taken off. It had been a couple months of like really consistent good income from YouTube. And I was in school and I was teaching voice lessons. And it was like, okay, I don't need this money from voice lessons anymore to live.
Mhm.
Like I'm making enough from YouTube, but this is guaranteed income. With YouTube, I don't
Right. Who knows?
I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is guaranteed hours every week. And I really loved the kids.
Yeah.
There
Ugh.
was some like weird drama politics with the studio sometimes, but the kids were really amazing. And it was really hard to leave. But I think it was, I made the right call.
it's giving
Yeah.
you probably made the right choice.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
held on to that probably longer than I should have, where I was working too much.
Right.
I was freaking out. I was crying. I was staying
Yeah.
up in the middle of the night trying to finish all the things I had to finish.
Right.
And it was like, okay, eventually something's got to give. But did I ever tell you about when I was working at that as the vocal instructor, and one of the studios I was working with, they like basically tried to like scam me into becoming a piano teacher?
No.
Well, not scam me, but scam the parents. I didn't tell you about that.
No.
I'll keep it short because, we have more that we want to talk about, more we want to do from the group chat stories. But essentially, as a vocal instructor, I taught voice lessons, as that is what I do.
Hmm.
And when I would do, the vocal warm-ups, I would play on the piano to, do the scales and whatever else. I can't play piano. I can just,
Do the scale.
do the scales. I can fiddle around a little bit. I know a little bit. The owner of the studio was like, hey, there's this woman who wants, to do voice and music lessons for her kids. So I thought it would be great if we can just do it all in one block. So you'll do like 3 voice lessons and then 2 piano lessons and then another voice lesson. And I was like, oh, who's the piano teacher? And he's like, well, I figured you could do it. And I was like, oh, no, I'm so sorry if this was a miscommunication. Like, I don't play piano. And he's like, well, I hear you in there. Like, you're like fiddling around. I'm like, yeah,
I'm fiddling around.
Yeah, but I can't play.
Right.
And I am not at all trained in the piano. Just as a singer, you know how to pluck out notes. And he's like, but they're like 8. I feel like it's enough. And that was, I think, an experience where had I been younger, because I was like 20, 21 at this point, had I been younger, I would have been like, well, okay,
right.
sure. And I straight up was just like, I do not feel comfortable with that.
Right, period.
And he was receptive to that. He was like, okay, yeah, well, I'll just tell them they have to go somewhere else. I think kind of thinking I'd be like, no, wait, I'm not teaching piano.
I don't know how to play.
I don't play piano.
Right.
Could you imagine?
Where would you begin? Just for them to turn around and be like, your piano teacher is an idiot.
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to play.
They're like, she doesn't know how to play.
And they're like, no, correct.
It seems like you're, learning from the voice lessons, but the piano, all she's having you do is play Mary Had a Little Lamb.
And the scales.
Yeah.
And what is it? Heart and soul. Do.
Right.
That would have been the whole lesson.
And she just teaches the kid the
Yeah.
Sierra's got the other part because she's like, I don't even know how to explain that.
Yeah.
Just hit it with this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that definitely would have been an easy way to get manipulated into doing it.
Yeah.
I just feel like you had to.
But that story just shows you how many people have probably taught something and just
That they don't
know what they're doing. Like for that owner,
I've done.
what have you taught?
Oh, I haven't taught things, but I've definitely done things that I didn't know what I was doing. But they said do it. I said okay. Well,
were you giving tap lessons out here?
I did give tap lessons. I did. Basic tap, beginner.
She's like the step flap.
Yeah, flap. That's the hardest thing. You got to get the flap and the tap
and the ball
step.
change.
Yes. Okay, and that's enough for 30 minutes of then you go home. Yeah.
And they're 8 years old.
And
see,
they're
so
8,
that's all they need to know.
Takes me 5 hours to get them to stop talking.
Yeah.
Sign up for piano lessons with Sierra. Tap dances with Riayn.
Well, should we bring in another group chat submission?
Yes, I have another one here from Paige. I work as a lifeguard at my local gym, and I have had many failed talking stages with my coworkers, which have led to a lot of awkward shifts and conversations with my managers. Ooh, girl, mixing with work and love. That's not good. I promise you. I thought I had learned my lesson, but then...
Me,
girl.
big mood.
But then the hottest guy on my team asked me out on a date on Valentine's Day. We went on a few dates and he ended up being a horrible kisser. I also found out later that he was 8 years older than me. I was newly 18 at the time, in parentheses.
No.
I ghosted him and narrowly avoided working with him for weeks. Thankfully, he got a real big boy job a few weeks later and I haven't seen him since. I now avoid men at work altogether. Melty emoji.
Yeah.
Working
relationships. That couldn't get a little dicey.
Did you guys have any workplace relationships?
No, I knew better.
Yeah.
I knew even if I was like, oh, he's cute, that's awesome, move on, because I'm not going to bring that into the workplace.
Yeah, me either. I'm not because I had that head on my shoulders. I just like to flirt. So, and there was like so many everyone was cute. So I was like, if I get a boyfriend or whatever, then I can't fuck around.
That's why we didn't get a boyfriend.
Because you got to have your work flirt.
Because I wanted to like flirt around. And then we didn't date. Nobody ever dated, but I was flirting.
Well, I didn't know we were chatting about flirting because I definitely was
flirting with everybody.
I'm not going to lie here to you.
Yeah. Because listen, a little workplace flirt kind of goes.
That's where I'm hearing this story and I'm like, well, first of all, red flag that he's, 8 years older and wanting to date an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's weird.
But just on, the surface of having that issue of I have all these coworkers and I keep telling myself I'm not going to get involved and then I do.
Yeah.
I get it. There is something about a workplace flirt.
Because you can't and you shouldn't. That is why, ladies.
Yeah.
That is why.
Well, yeah.
And it's just so oh my God.
Well, it's giving TV.
Yeah.
It's just giving
especially
drama.
Working as a lifeguard.
Where you're hot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
a bathing suit? Baby.
Good luck to you, viewer. I hope you can keep it up with not flirting with anyone at work, but
yes.
I get it. But maybe we just keep them a little more in the age range.
And just flirt with them. You don't want to date someone you work with because then you see them all the time.
Just flirt with them, guys.
Bit,
just flirt with them. That's
flirt
it.
with them.
Don't
That's
nothing
time.
else. I promise.
And then you don't have to stick to one. Hello.
We say all three in relationships. Just flirt.
Just flirt.
You don't want just one man.
It's fine. Yeah.
All right. What's the
Louder.
next?
No, but I can look back on that time with fondness of
yeah,
having your work flirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but I have a question. Work, like nowadays, you have a husband and wife. Are these, sometimes like,
work husbands?
My work husbands and my work wives. Like, to be honest, I'm not crazy about those.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, like, as Sierra says, I like to look back in fondness in those. But currently, if you have you shouldn't be having work husbands and work wives. Well, you can. I just personally, as a monogamous person, would feel so hurt as your wife. I'd be like, oh, that's your work wife. So
also, maybe just don't label it as that.
Yeah.
Well, and also the tea is you spend more time at work than you do at home.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's where I'm like, okay, well, your little grocery store girlfriend clerk. Okay, fine. Right. You see them when you go grocery shopping once a week. And that's fine. You flirt, whatever. But somebody that you work with, like hours a day.
So much of your day.
That also, we probably are not in communication because I'm doing whatever. I'm working your work. I don't know.
That's why I wanted to raise it. I mean, ladies, like that's
know.
where it
I don't think I'm a fan, really.
Yeah. I've heard it said, my mom always says everyone wants a work wife. No one really wants a work husband. And I think that's because you're like, for especially like older generation, a lot of them, it's the person making sure you took your lunch. It's like, making sure you're hydrated. If you have a lot on your thing, they're checking. It's like treating you with decent respect. And I think a lot of people need that in the workplace, women to women, but also if you look at other structures, it's like men being like, you're going to emotionally regulate me while I'm at work like my wife does at home. And that's just icky.
And takes care of me.
And who's going to mommy me when she's not around?
Literally. But I also feel like on the flip side of that, like that's like generally, right, like a woman's perspective. But like for men, it's like, this is an opportunity for me to like flirt with other women that are not my wife. And I can't really get in trouble for it because I'm at work. I'm working.
And that's where I'm saying it's dicey.
It's harder to get caught. I'm at work. What are you going to say?
She's my
I'm doing something at work, like
She's
I'm working.
She's my coworker. You're like, exactly.
That's the point.
That's the problem.
And that's the thing where I feel like if people want to cheat, they can always find a way.
Period.
So it's like, it's not the fact that you're working with, the gender that you're attracted to. It's the fact that you are already in that mindset.
Yeah.
Because like anyone can, if you're attracted to men and you work with men, you can just work with men and not take it further.
Right.
If you're already in that mindset.
You just will. Yeah.
On the side of husbands and wives, the coworkers that you really ride or die with, I love you. And I see you. Like the coworkers that you're like, you make this shift so much more bearable.
Yeah.
Shout out to you guys.
Yeah. Well, and also the other thing too is like when your partner, your spouse, or even your friend is like, oh, this coworker that I work with, love them. They make work so lit, like, and they know, and we're cool. You're like them. Like adjacent.
Yeah.
You like don't know them, like you don't see them or really like know who they are, but like your person that is telling you this is like feeling taken care of and like feeling fulfilled, and you're like, I fuck with you. Like you're doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like we mentioned, you spend a lot of time doing work. So I hope you love what you're doing and who you're working with and your boss and everything, because it's a lot of your brain space.
That's been like the best part about like building this team is like I'm just like I'm around the best people all day. Like I get to work with some of my best friends, and like the people who I've hired who we weren't friends before, like we just hired them, we are now friends. Everyone is just so on the same page, and it's been like such a cool experience because you're so right. You're around the people you work with all the time.
Yeah. And like not even at home.
Yeah.
Or not doing things outside of work.
Rachel met her husband at work, so.
Rachel met her husband at work. Right.
Oh,
okay.
See? Some success stories, though.
Listen, and if you got it like that, get it like that.
I know, yeah.
Get it like that.
Yeah.
You know? And honest, and sometimes it can work out. Sometimes it works out.
So many people meet at work. I mean,
and they fall in love.
They do.
And we love that. That's like a 2000s rom-com.
Yes.
They work together. Is. It's like what is that movie with Jennifer Lopez? Is it Maid in Manhattan?
Yeah.
And she's like the maid or whatever, and she like pretends that she's like not the maid, and then he falls in. Yeah, whatever. I hate those movies, but I know that one. I know that one.
All right. Well, speaking of dating and work, I have another group chat submission. Okay. So, Anonymous says, OMG. So, I was single in college and working as a server at a restaurant. One night I was bored on Tinder and matched with some random guy. One thing led to another and we exchanged nudes. He ghosted. No big deal. But then he came into the restaurant I worked at like a week later on a date, and I had to wait his table.
No.
It was so embarrassing. I couldn't tell if he recognized me, but I definitely recognized him. Worst thing too, he was a bad tipper. That is brutal.
Okay, wait. Let me make sure I have the Carfax.
She sent nudes to the
She
guy.
sent nudes to the guy.
Ghosted.
He ghosted.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to the restaurant
With
On a date with someone else.
on a date.
Yep.
And she had to serve the table.
She was waiting their date, and she recognized him. She wasn't sure if he recognized her because he
Also,
didn't acknowledge it.
He sent nudes too. They exchanged.
Okay,
It's
so
a
the
mutual
mutual
nuding.
exchange.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mutual nuding.
okay. Whoa.
That's brutal.
That's brutal. Also
That is
at
brutal.
work to deal with but then, okay, so now we're mixing personal and work life on
Yeah.
accident. Because also, what if that guy didn't know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's to say they really chatted about life? Like, what if they just matched, exchanged nudes and that was it?
Yeah.
I think that is what happened.
Yeah.
But
That
then
kinda
having
gives
to
that-
wait somebody who you not even a week prior saw naked and then never heard again for just both of them.
Right.
Do we think the
Awkward.
guy knew? Do we think that he saw Jaden's
I
nodding her
genuinely,
head?
I don't think so.
I feel it depends. Maybe the nudes were giving below the neck.
Oh, right.
And maybe his weren't.
You're so
and that's why
right.
she knew.
You're so right.
But actually, no, because they met on Tinder.
Oh, there
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
That-
you're
there
right.
would
We
be
forgot
head-
that, but there's pictures.
his face. So
Yeah,
he
both
definitely
of
saw her.
them.
So he saw her profile.
Yeah.
He must have just been like, damn, she looks really familiar. Like,
Yeah,
I've
maybe,
seen
or
her
maybe he just
online.
pretended that wasn't the tea. But also, what to say what in that situation?
Right. Like, what do you
Nothing.
say? Like,
Hey, nice boobs.
nice boobs, and then I didn't talk to you, and now I'm
here with someone else. Someone else's boobs.
Ah, dang. Sorry, girl. That's
Sorry.
tough.
Do you think he's going to talk to them in a baby voice? Is it the
Stop
same
it.
man?
Ew. Don't bring that man up in
Ew.
here.
If you missed the
God.
dating horror stories episode, I'm going to
Oh
link
my
it in the
God.
description.
Yes.
But I literally still think about that story.
So weird.
And do you remember he asked, did you like Jake or whatever? Did you like Kyle? No, we're done.
What? Oh,
Ma'am, this
my
is a
God.
Chili's.
Ma'am, this is a Chili's. Ew. Oh my God, that was so. You guys have the best stories. Listen.
Should we do one more?
We have yes.
Okay.
Yes. On that, keep sending them.
Please.
I'm sorry at your expense.
Yeah.
But listen,
But thank
the
you.
world needs to know. America, we need to know. Okay, so this is from Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi.
I used to be a cake decorator at Walmart. I once had a deal with a very upset customer who returned an ice cream cake because she didn't know it had to be kept in the freezer.
Okay.
Hmm. Even though it was made of ice cream and very clearly purchased from a freezer, she brought it back, soggy, cardboard box and all, on a cookie sheet. I even had to wash her cookie sheet off after disposing of all the melted cake
Ugh.
and return it to her. Then write on a new ice cream cake and hand it to her while explaining it needed to be kept frozen with a straight face. I don't know if this is funny to anyone else, but it was the epitome of the customer is always right. Customer service would also return the cakes that were brought in from grocery store chains that were 99% eaten and they didn't like it. Okay, push pause. That is so funny to me.
That's
To
so
eat
funny.
something and be like, this was bad.
This was bad. They're like, ma'am, you ate everything.
Ate everybody.
Yeah, and
You
it
licked the
sucked.
plate. Yeah,
Stop.
that was terrible.
Wait. I just need to jump in here. One time I had
Please.
someone come to Aeropostale to return sandals that I checked the SKU were 7 years old and they were black on the front and back. Like they were worn all through the streets. And she's like, return them. I could not. I was like, ma'am, I can't return these. And I had to get my manager to come by and tell her that she can't return. But you will not believe how many times people will wear
right.
clothes to the bone
Right.
and say, it never fit.
Yeah.
She said those chanclas never fit. I said, girl, those chanclas
Girl,
were
they fit
you.
too good.
They fit too
They
good.
fit too good. God, people are
returning
yeah.
half a cake and be like, that's not good. I totally
Believe it. No,
Especially
absolutely.
At Costco, that's like a big
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah, because they have to take everything back, right?
Costco and I think also Nordstrom both have really, really generous return policies to the point that it's like
Two of
You should probably like add a rule or 5.
Yes.
People are getting crazy out here.
Something of appears to be worn more than 7 times should be in the label.
There's no tag. This is ripped. We haven't made this in 4 years. Okay. So then she continues to say, I'm a nurse now, and the stories I have on this are so crazy, but for some reason, I always think about the ice cream cake lady. Have a good day, guys. Can't wait to hear the new episodes. Heart.
Oh, thank you, Melody.
Thank you, Melody. So sweet.
Oh my God.
But also crazy. I can't imagine being a nurse and like, those have to be crazy stories. People come in like in hysteria.
Yeah.
In,
My
like, hospitals and
sister-in-law is a wait, what did you say?
Nurse?
Yeah. Wait, why'd you say Costco?
I didn't.
Oh, I thought you said people come in hysterical to a Costco.
No,
I
in
said people
hysteria.
come in to hospitals in hysteria.
Oh, I was about to be like,
But also-
my sister-in-law's a nurse, and then, she tells us all the crazy stories.
Right.
I was like, wait, a nurse at a Costco? Is there something I'm missing here?
Costco's have hospitals now.
Do they actually?
No.
No. Well, they have a pharmacy.
They have a
They
pharmacy.
have a florist. They've got everything.
Oh, they
You
have
could
it
have
all.
fooled
You
me.
can get a hot dog.
Yeah.
Good hot dogs, too.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. However, imagine the stories the nurses have.
Oh, yeah. It's like my sister-in-law, because she works in a hospital, so she does 3 shifts a week. Oh, and right now she's doing overnights. And so the stories, bananas.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that, and like stories with like parents. Like we were just talking about, like kid stuff, parents.
Kids are high stakes, and kids are like also bananas. But also on the other side of that, like working with kids can be so heartwarming. I had an experience when I was working as a birthday party princess where, usually we would get a party inquiry. They'd say how many kids, where it is, da-da-da-da. And the boss of the party company called me and was like, hey, I got this kind of strange inquiry, so I'm going to call and get more details, but I want to see if you're available first. They want Rapunzel, and it says it's for 1 kid, and it's on a Tuesday. So, like, I don't know if that was like an error, but I'm going to call. So she calls, and it was a little girl who was going through chemo. And had cancer, and the parents wanted to do something nice for her and have a princess come to her house and play with her and sing songs. And so the woman from the party company called me back, and she was like, hey, here's the information. She gave it to me. She said, I don't want to charge them. Are you willing to volunteer your time? And I was like, I would love to. Like, that sounds like a really special thing to do. And I went. And I spent like an hour or 2 with this little girl, and she was so sweet. And like we sang songs together and we played, and she was just, she was a kid. Like she was going through this really traumatic thing, but she was just a kid. And she was like any of the other kids at the birthday parties who have all these questions for the princess. And I remember at the end, she was like 3 or 4. She was really young, but she was like, in your movie, like you were really sad because like you were in a tower. And sometimes I get sad because like I have to go to the hospital, and that's like a tower, but like you got out. And I was like, oh my God. Like it was so, I don't know. There's like something about those experiences with kids where like they're bananas and they're off the wire, but it is high stakes because it means so much to them.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And just that story just took me back to when I used to work for the YMCA. I worked for the YMCA at the after school program and then Boys and Girls Club, like in between those two. And that is when I got close to the kids, and you can see their lives and the things that they go on. And when I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, it was very like low income families. And I remember the job was more about like those kids than like the job itself. It was, I remember one day I had like the Friday off or whatever. It was not my day to go to work, but we always went to the school to go pick up the kids, and we would walk the kids back to the Boys and Girls Club. And I showed up on Monday the next day, and one of the little boys that I was so close with came up to me and was like, you weren't here on Friday. Where were you? There was no one to ask me how my day at school was on Friday. Where were you? I missed you. And just like, he didn't have a mom or dad or like any sort of accountability, and it shows you how important me asking how his day at school was every single day. And so I was like realizing the impact on like these kids just, and they tell you and confide in you, and like the most, like you hear some stuff, and just hearing that like nobody asked me how my day was. I'm like, you're 6.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Right. Because your grandma who barely can get to come pick you up here comes at you at the latest thing because she can't. And it's like, and I saw kids for so much, but it was, I think that job, the toughest part was seeing the kids and not being able to like literally help them,
Well, I think it's easy to forget that kids are people because they are so like out of control and like
Bananas.
do whatever, literally do whatever because they're just kids. But then they are in hospitals, right? Or they don't have anyone to pick them up, or just like are kids who have like, you know, cushioned lives, whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, they're still people, and you forget until they say some real shit and you're like, oh yeah, right.
Right.
Forgot.
Yeah.
Because I already see myself like so different from you because you're a child.
Yeah.
And like, and you know what they say? They're like, oh, what could you be so sad about? You know, you're just a kid, live, laugh, love. And you're like, the kid's like, yeah, but like, I'm doing some real shit, dog. Like, and you're like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Humans.
Yeah. So when I had to leave,
Oh, I'm sure that was a mess.
it was so like it was leaving the kids. I was just like, no. I was like,
You
I
felt like you were
can't.
abandoning them?
I did because
Yeah.
so many have that like that's the tricky part. Like sometimes that program is like after school, there's no like someone to watch over them. So those kids specifically were very much like needing outside attention and like just homework help. Like we're doing
Well, and the role that you're playing in those kids' lives, like, yeah, your job is to like help them with their activities or their homework. Or like for me, it was to teach voice. For you, it was to teach dance, like whatever it is. Like with kids, sometimes that's like the secondary job.
Right.
And the first job is like being there, being a present figure in their life, being reliable, being trustworthy. Like I remember one of the hardest parts about when I left that voice teaching job was one of the little girls would always come in and I'd always ask them how their day was. And she would like tell me about how things were going at school and how she was getting bullied. And we'd like try to bring that into her music and work on that. And it was really important for her to have that time. And she was really sad when I was leaving. And like now as a parent, Grace is just starting to do activities. Still, all of her activities are like with me. It's like a parent and me class at the nature center and her ballet class. But I now see as Grace is forming bonds with these teachers, how important those figures are in kids' lives. And like, I hope you know how impactful I'm sure that was with those kids. And, you know, maybe they remember that and they think back and they're like, oh my God, like Paloma, she was the coolest. Or maybe they're just like changed forever internally from that experience. But no matter which it is, they were impacted by you being there
Totally.
and asking how their day was.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I can only hope that Grace will have people in her life like you to be that for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I honestly retweet to you the same, like you teaching voice lesson and that being there for these children and just seeing them. And I think that that's something that the three of us have where we like can see people and like feel them. And so that's really awesome to know that we have had the opportunity to have that influence with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's what makes teachers and adults in kids' lives so important. And the stakes are high because some adults are terrible, you know? And it's like, we have the opportunity as adults to like do good in kids' lives.
Yeah.
And it's so obviously so important and so impactful. And I don't think people really take enough time to think about how much it affects kids, good or bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And I mean, the kids are just sponges. They just look to you and they just trust you. I mean, silly me talking about 15 years old in Aero and I just like trusted my boss that she wasn't going to lead me in the wrong way. I'm 15.
Right.
Now imagine how different that experience would have been had you had a boss who looked out for your best interest, who cared about you, who like was invested in you.
Yep.
How different would that have been?
Right.
And that's crazy you bring that up because I feel that here now with my new job.
Right.
In a different space. Like,
supported.
Heard. Like, just
seen. I feel like I was not nervous coming into this job. I mean, I think we started working together in 2020.
Yeah.
TBT.
Damn.
So it's coming up on 3 years now, but then I was just like, oh, I'm excited because it's going to be this, and it's going to be so fun. But then old work, you know, inner dialogue started happening. What if I don't do this thing? What if I don't perform well? I'm like, and she's like a public figure and like everything. Right. And even when I definitely think that I wasn't performing at my best, I knew that I could be like, hey, I'm struggling with this thing. I'm just having a hard time balancing or whatever the case was. I knew that I could go to you and be like, hey, this thing. And you were like, tight. Well, let's figure it out together. Or like, take your time, figure, like whatever. Like it was never like, you're going to yell at me.
Of course
I'm going to get in trouble. Like,
yeah.
But like, why would I not think that?
But but because of your past experiences, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm so glad you feel that way. I feel like honestly, my like priority in our team is making sure that everyone feels comfortable, everyone feels like they're on even playing ground with me, everyone feels like they are supported and like cared about as a person first and as a team member second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is it's such a crucial thing to do. And I love that I feel like that is also reciprocated from you guys. And it's been really amazing, you know, as things have grown. And now like I for a long time I was like, I'm a full-time YouTuber. Like that is what I do. And, you know, I have like some people who work with me too that are, you know, part-time helping me out here. And now it's like, I'm actually not a full-time YouTuber anymore, which is bananas to say. And I
Right.
wouldn't be able to do that without this team who I'm able to delegate to, because now I get to be 50-50. I'm 50% of the time I'm a stay-at-home mom, and 50% of the time I'm a YouTuber and an influencer and, you know, running this business with you guys. And it's really cool because I would not be able to have both without you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're all, you know, everyone on the team is in a unique position to be working for a business that we're all helping grow. You know, you started this and you grew it from the point where you were like, okay, I need help. And now it really genuinely feels like we all have like, not stake in it, like, yeah, but I mean, that's not the word I want to use. We all have
Influence, perhaps?
Yeah,
like,
maybe
just a say in it, I
yeah,
guess.
to like build this together.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't, like, sometimes it can't feel that way. Like with other businesses, people are like, this is my business and I hired all of you and you work for me.
for me, yeah,
But
which
this
I hate.
feels like we work together
Yes.
and we are all like pitching ideas and starting things and like trying things. And it's all like, we're all in this melting pot of like, we just want this business to be successful.
Yeah.
And we want all of us to like do this thing together. And that's really what it feels like. It feels like we're doing this
Good.
all together.
The difference has been substantial. I mean, first of all, just the support I have here and like the creativeness. I think, like you just said, we just like get together and like create. I love that, and I feel like I don't have that say in like my other stuff because I do social media for other companies, but it's very much like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what you got to do. Just execute it. But on the Schultzzie side, it's like, this is what we got to do, but like, what are your thoughts? And and I get to have that creative juices and impact and say, like it, like that influence that you're saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm represented within the creation, and I don't feel like I feel that as much with my other content stuff. But you know, it's
a collective.
And now you're also, so you work for Schultzzie, you work for, you know, other companies doing their social media. But now you also work for you with your own social media stuff. And don't count that out because that is
work.
A big part of the time that you spend.
You are so right about that. And I think I forget that I just, in my side hustle, my influencing, like that really is like I put so much time and effort into that. And being my own boss part-time kind of is tough where you're like, okay, you need to get this out. Now figure out how the hell to schedule it. Like amongst everything else. And motivating yourself and believing in yourself because if it's not Schultzzie related, I can't look to Sierra and be like, okay, this is going to be amazing, right? Just walk me through it. Like, you know what I like? That support. And it's just like, it's on me. Like, I have to be like, does this speak to your brand? Do you trust in this? And
it's also you giving time into something that currently like isn't bringing in like funds.
Correct. It's an investment.
It's an investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's hard to like schedule time around that when like you need to do things that pay your bills, but like you're also trying to do this other thing. Like,
so I would just like to make a big shout out to my physical planner. I live by you, and because of her, I know, and I and that's what I do. I'll work my 9 to 5, and then at 5 o'clock, I start working for myself for an hour or two, and do that side gig. And we're doing it, babies.
Listen, shout out to everybody with side hustles, whether that's influencing, you're crocheting shit, you're building shit. It doesn't even matter. Who cares? You're doing the thing. Yeah. Because we all, everybody in this room knows what it's like to have your 9 to 5 or your like main job and your side hustle that you're like working your ass off for. So shout out to you.
And you're now starting to see the fruits of your labor.
The fruits of my labor.
Can I say, you with that Harper Wilde ad you did have been all over my Instagram.
I get so many texts from all of you.
Circulating that.
They're like, I've seen you 5 times this week, bitch. Like, get out of here. And I'm like, sorry.
That is amazing.
You and that Harper Wilde ad is going to be the new, whoa, you've been scrolling for way too long.
Me, they're gonna be sending hate in my DMs. They're gonna be like, get out of here.
No, but it's such a good ad. I'm like,
no, yes.
You know what's funny though? Because a lot of the times with sponsorships like that, you know, you are compensated for their ability to run it as an ad. It's like that's separate from you creating the content. And sometimes they'll like just put a little bit into it, and then if it doesn't do super well, they won't. But then if it does perform really well, they'll just keep doing it, which I think is what's happening with that.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook and I was like,
yep.
hello.
Shut up.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me one time with this one Fabletics picture. I'm in like an orange set and like a puffer jacket, and I have my hand up.
I totally know. I think I took that picture.
I think you did. And I don't know what it was about that picture that performed well as an ad, but I swear they used that as an ad for like 3 years. And I think that's what
I think
you are Harper Wilde, baby.
You are. But it is cool, right? You're now, you
cool.
invested so much of that time in what was your side hustle that now it's becoming the main hustle.
It is. And honestly, and with 20 whatever, like that's the hopes for here too. Like it's like we're like doing the thing because obviously we love it. And it's a business that we get to do together. And with like everyone, there's so many people in this room that you cannot see. But there are many people in here, and all of the people in here and outside of this room make it happen. And I love working with all women and Steven. And it's amazing. I love it here.
It is the best.
It's the best.
I love it. And I love getting to be around you guys. It's so nice. And it's one of those things where I do see comments sometimes that are like, why do you have such a big team? And I think, first of all, I don't think most influencers are honest about the team they have.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think most people hide it a little bit. And I'm like, why would I hide this? Look at the amazing work these people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I could do everything myself and I would be miserable. The content wouldn't be as good. And I'm just going to hoard everything I'm making to myself? Like, why would I not want to be a job creator? And why would I not want to be able to work with my friends and with these amazing, talented people? And at the same time, get their amazing, amazing creative work and perspective.
Yeah.
And
at the end of the day, also, it's better for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you get to do more things. You get to make more content without like the worry of like then executing the content, right? You get to make the content and then delegate.
Yeah.
And that's like it helps everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a piece.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to pause. The way you flip your hair with that cord,
It's-
like I
okay.
have watched you
I've been
this
doing it
whole
all episode. Okay.
Have you seen this, Sierra?
Yes.
The whole episode,
just-
but I keep seeing it. And I'm like, I know it's
just-
ugly, and I'm trying to move it, but I'm trying to be
it's with
chill
intention.
with it.
But it's the way you're flipping it.
Yes. Sorry.
I just
If
wanted
it was
to-
distracting.
Sorry.
No, putting the non-existent hair behind the ear. And on that, we're going to go ahead and end this episode because our camera batteries are blinking red. We have been talking for way too long. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed being here.
Yes.
And send us a text on the group chat. Leave a comment. Let us know any of your amazing or not so amazing job experiences that you want to share. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.